Oh, hey there. Welcome to the Ope-Eh Three-Way Pro Wrestling Podcast on this our sweet 16th episode. And boys, I am fucking exhausted. It's been 2 days. I don't know about you, Donnie, but
it's been 2 days in America, Don.
Yeah.
But on the flip side,
Life goes on.
we'll have a WWE in the Hall of Famer in the White House again. So
Yay, all right.
play that noise again.
Donnie 2 times.
There we go.
Of course, not exhibiting any particular political bias on this very inclusive podcast, being the Ope Three-Way.
No, political
Right.
discourse is stupid. It's the same as
You
tribalism.
gotta be careful. I'm getting a little itchy.
Shut up, bitch!
Oh,
I was saying a good thing, Donnie.
I agree, Don. No more political talk. It's over. It's over.
All right.
We got 2 more years.
Hey.
2 more years until some
Shut up,
gubernatorial ends. But it's over. It's all over.
All
But
right.
the crying.
Today on the podcast, we're going from one really depressing conversation to another, and that's wrestling in Saudi Arabia. Crown Jewel happened on the weekend.
Thanks for not saying on this day, my main part of the podcast. I appreciate that, Donnie.
I wouldn't do you dirty like that. Come on now. We're going to talk about Saudi Arabia. We're going to talk about Crown Jewel. We might even talk a little bit about the Monday Night Raw that happened in Crown Jewel. We'll see how that goes. Or in Saudi Arabia, Crown Jewel is not a place.
If we're going to talk about anything, I think we should talk about that promo between the Usos and Sammy, because that was fucking great.
Yep, we can talk about that. But for now, Pierce, tell us what happened on November 6th at some point in wrestling history.
So, a lot of it was very much, these people want a title, these people want a title. But 1994, AAA and WCW come together for a groundbreaking pay-per-view called When Worlds Collide. It's kind of like what would be the, what is the AEW NJPW pay-per-view? I can't think of the name.
Forbidden Door?
Yeah,
Forbidden
it's kind
Door.
of like
It's okay,
Door
everybody
back.
forgets that a week after it happens anyways.
Oh,
Yeah.
the
I
Don.
am too tired for this.
Yeah!
See, Donnie's got a full tank. He's fine.
Let's go.
Yeah, because he's got to bow down to his kings and queen overlords down over there in England.
Filthy Commonwealther.
Thanks, Brandon. I know you appreciated that.
I sure did.
Damn separatists.
But yeah, I mean, it's a groundbreaking pay-per-view. The one thing I saw is that the biggest match on it was Los Gringos Locos, which is Eddie Guerrero and Art Barr. Rest in peace to both those men. Faced. Let me take a look. I believe it was El Hijo de Santos, maybe? Yeah, El Hijo del Santo and Octagon. Not Octagon Jr., regular Octagon.
Is that like 3 sides better than Pentagon?
Don't you dare say that. Pentagon is amazing.
I'm just
Ciro
asking.
Miedo.
If
Oh, you
Octagon
don't think
has 8
Pentagon's a-
sides, does that mean he's 3 sides better than Penta? It's only 5 sides.
Piero Miedo.
His offense is a bit more abstract.
Who's also in the AEW Doghouse, by the way. So
Yeah, I don't like that. That's a completely different podcast, but let's move on ahead to a different tag team. An ECW TV taping. The reason I put this in is because of NXT tonight at the 2300 Arena. The Dudley Boys defeated Balls Mahoney and Masato Tanaka to win the ECW tag titles for the 5th time, which gave them the most reigns of those titles in company history over Public Enemy. They would end up having 8 reigns with the ECW tag titles. Obviously, Dudley Boys are a top 3 team of all time. I think you could make the argument for number 1. Balls Mahoney and Masato Tanaka, I would say, are not in that argument. But Masato Tanaka versus Mike Awesome at ECW One Night Stand 2005 is one of the best matches ever. And I will not argue that.
okay.
I certainly won't argue that either.
Literally the most fun 7-minute match I've ever seen. because they just beat the shit out of each other with chairs and tables. And
That's
then
something we should do. Talk about One Night Stand 05, I think, could get its own feature someday. A lot of great stuff in that one.
If we can ever do the retro pay-per-view reviews, that's one that's worth a review.
Oh, yeah.
And then 2005, a very surprising move because I believe the week before they quote-unquote fired Jim Ross on Raw. Joey Styles became the lead play-by-play. I don't know if you guys remember, but the whole time I thought I was getting static there. I was not ready for that, Don.
No, that was a golf clap for Joey Styles' commentary.
Hey,
Yeah.
Joey Styles
Donnie
is a great
having fun.
commentator.
Different strokes for different folks, brother.
Fair enough.
wanna
But, I mean, the
Catch any bets we see him tonight?
whole time he was just shit on by Jerry King Lawler. Like, it just was pointless. And then he didn't even get to call WrestleMania. He didn't even get to call Backlash. He had that famous promo. And yeah, I mean, I was always a Joey Styles fan. I mean, oh my God, it's always great. But and finally, we're gonna give a little happy birthday shout out to a former NWA and TNA heavyweight champion and the current SmackDown general manager, Mr. Nick Aldis, who I think is one of the best GMs maybe ever. He's awesome as a character.
Hell yeah. We're a
Would
fan of
like to
Nick.
see him get back in the ring.
Part of me is still hoping for him and Pierce to duke it out at Survivor Series, brand supremacy and all that. Two former NWA World Heavyweight Champions. I'd be down for it. Pierce?
They kind of set it up at Crown Jewel with the RKO. That maybe
Pierce can still take a bump.
But why don't we talk about that depressing Saudi show that I don't want to talk about?
Oh, come on now. It was a fun show.
It was a show.
It was a fun show.
No, it wasn't.
We are all entitled to our own opinions, Pierce. I thought.
Yeah, and mine's right.
Oh, yes, just like we're getting Gunther and CM Punk in 3 weeks.
It's not my fault they had that title eliminator on Raw and Saudi. CM Punk would not have gone to Saudi.
I wonder if that changes down the road. I wonder if,
It would make him look like a massive hypocrite, and it's against his morals.
I mean, that wouldn't necessarily be the first time he would have done that historically, but...
I don't know what you're talking about. Punk does nothing wrong.
On that note of down the road, too, Damian Priest, they didn't specify that he won a title match for Survivor Series. It's down the road, same as the tag title match. So nothing confirmed for Survivor Series yet. There's still hope.
Since we're talking about it now, I wouldn't be surprised if that ends up being on Saturday night's main event, simply because that's going to be in New York. But
Damian's home turf.
It could also just leave Gunther off of the Survivor Series card because there's 2 likely War Games matches, and those take a considerable amount of time. Then you're probably also going to get Cody in a championship match against, I would assume, Kevin Owens. So that's 3 matches already. If they only do 5, they could probably give Gunther the night off.
Fucking Saudi can get 7 matches. I think America can get 7.
Yeah, well, first of all,
North America.
Technically.
First of all, Vancouver is located in Canada.
Nice save.
That's part of North America.
Yeah. But all those matches were short. Like, outside of the main event, the matches were short. We'll get into these in just a little bit. But the War Games matches take a fair amount of time just by process of having everyone come in one person at a time through timed intervals. So it's like...
I don't know what they're really going to do with the women's War Games. I don't think there's really anything that's needed for the women's War Games match.
Well, especially now that Rhea's injured. I actually don't know what they're going to do with that either, because is that why they're trying to lump Bianca and Jade in there now? Because they realize they don't have a team to go with Rhea, so they have to use other faces instead.
Stands to reason.
I mean, I don't think it really matters. It's not really necessary. They could go with one War Games match and I'd be okay.
They could, but then you're also in a situation where you have nothing for the women outside of what Io versus Liv, which would be a good match.
All I really need.
But
all I need.
All right. Well, let's get into Crown Jewel. This was this past Saturday. It was out of Riyadh at the Mohammed Abdo Arena. They never say how many people attend these events, but you know they're the
I wonder
largest.
if it's like Collision in Korea, where they're just like forced to go.
I don't think that's the case. There's a lot of like kids and stuff there. I don't think that that's the case with this one.
One thing that I find interesting is that the seats that are close to the ring is that ever since they've been there, they're like couches, you know?
Yeah.
They're not like actual like stadium chairs.
Premium seating.
They're just legit like comfy chairs.
Well, it's one thing that I always thought was a little interesting when they talk about gates associated with PLEs and WrestleManias and stuff. They always say, "Oh, it's the biggest WrestleMania ever. It's the biggest show in the USA ever, or whatever." But they never say ever. And I think even though they don't publicize that, I wouldn't be surprised if the reason is that these tickets are insanely expensive. I would imagine that the gate that they collect for these events is very high. How much of that they realize and how much goes to the Saudi government, I don't know. But I would anticipate.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the guys.
Go ahead.
Looking at the guys in the front row for these shows, man, they look like they got a lot of blood money. So and especially if you're paying
money.
for.
Let's say money. Let's not go too far there.
I mean,
I may or may not agree with Brandon, and that's all I'll say.
You don't know these people's lives. I mean, you can say what you can about the stuff that we know about, but you can't say stuff about what you don't know about. So.
Oh, I was just giving a little pokesy.
Here's
no
what
harm,
we know
no.
About. Here's what we do know about. I love you, Solo.
Yeah, I love you, Solo. Yes, we do know that.
If only somebody loved me as much as Jacob loves Solo, boys. Isn't that really what we all aspire for?
That's the love that we look for on this world, is the love that Solo gets from Jacob Fatu.
Someone just constantly shouting at you every day.
Yes.
Solo became one of 3 people to pin Roman Reigns in the past 5 years.
We're going to get to that. But first, we got to talk about... Oh, actually, that is what we're getting to. Haha. Match order there for a second. Look at that. That would be the bloodline of Solo, Sikoa, Jacob Fatu, and Tama Tonga, with Tonga Loa ringside, because lol. Defeated Roman Reigns and the Usos, Jimmy and Jay Uso. Solo pinned Roman for the win. He deserves more than a golf clap for pinning the... There we go. He pinned the OTC, man. Come on.
Yeah. I mean, the match did what it needed to.
And then post-match, Sammy makes the save on after a 4-on-3 beatdown, but in the midst of that, gives a haluva kick to Roman instead of Solo.
Be honest, that was more of a Claymore.
Yeah, I guess. We know he was trying to do it, but it wasn't in the corner. It would have been a haluva kick had it been in the corner. So I'm still calling it.
Totally by accident. Totally by accident.
Yeah, that was a clear accident. Jimmy,
don't tell Jimmy Uso that. Don't tell Big Jim that.
Yeah, but you got to remember, Big Jim is, even though he's a good guy now, he's still gonna back the OTC.
Big Jim was born a king, okay? So what he says is probably right.
Banger theme.
Banger theme, absolutely. It's a shame that he didn't get his theme, but the other two did.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of said it that this was going to be them not really being on the same page. I can't remember who said it, but Michael Cole said that the new bloodline is more cohesive than the old bloodline ever was, and that might actually be true.
Yeah, because they're all just out to fuck people up.
Yeah, it's like I've been saying, Roman was the mafia boss that was just there in the background. He was the Thanos, essentially. And Solo is like your kingpin. Not afraid to get his hands dirty.
The guys that he's brought in, like, none of them are making any remote sort of power play towards leadership or deviating from the course. They all just are like, okay, Solo, I love you, Solo. Let's fuck up people for Solo, right? Whereas from day one with the Bloodline, there was drama associated to acknowledging the tribal chief. So hard to disagree with that.
It's Solo picking he's picking hitmen versus, picking people that he grew up with, I mean, he may have grew up around Jacob, but like, it's always shown that Jimmy J and Roman were together as kids all the time.
And Sammy.
So, yeah, the picture of him and Sammy was great.
I saw the photos.
And then Sammy's explanation on Twitter was also great. I remember that day we were on the way to the club, and that was the first time I ever heard DMX.
Oh, peace, DMX. Sammy.
But like, yeah, it's just it's more cohesive. Solo has pinned Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes in the same year, and that's insane to me.
Nobody has ever done that except for Solo Sikoa.
Are we sure?
At least since Cody's come back. It may have happened when Cody was still in, but ever since Cody's return, I mean,
and will Solo ever win a world title? Probably not, but he's beaten the two biggest stars of this era relatively cleanly, and that's about as big as a notch as you can get on your belt,
Just wait until he pins CM Punk.
Shut up.
And he didn't pin them both in the same night for the Undisputed Championship, though. So
no,
those be number two as far as that.
Unlike the real GOAT, the
only one time you'll hear me put over Jericho.
Yes, absolutely.
That's your only Jericho put over you're going to get from me on this podcast.
No. Please give our Ring of Honor World Champion the respect that he deserves. Pierce.
Oh, okay.
Shut up, bitch.
I have no regrets.
No respect.
Absolutely. That is correct.
Well, I mean, I'll bring that up when it's a little bit more relevant. But he's not the most besmirched member of the Inner Circle and the Jericho Appreciation Society this week. So
no.
The education system did Jake Hager dirty. Let's go.
You should just kept talking about your hat, man, and you would have made the money you were going to for that appearance at that indie show.
They should just put a hat in instead of him and get a bigger pop.
Or if it's at 90 days, it's not, but maybe they could waive that for Mr. Baron Corbin to make an appearance there. Because did he get cut? I'm not okay.
We weren't ready to talk about that just now, but
yeah. Now, Pierce, we are going to dedicate our 10 minutes of crying for Baron Corbin at maybe after we talk about Crown Jewel, we can allocate a bit of time.
I need that time.
Let all the sad out.
We need to give that the proper discussion time. So we'll leave that.
I just want to give a little tip of the cap to Baron Corbin.
We're going to circle back to Baron Corbin and the others.
And Tegan Knox and Indy Hartwell.
Just not listening. We're just going to keep ignoring the bloodline stuff. And
yeah.
Okay. Go ahead. All
right, Brandon.
It's been said. Now you got to start. Go.
I love you, Baron. Tegan Knox.
I also am fond of
because her knees did not like her. And Indy Hartwell just never got over with fans, but she was starting to pick up steam, and then, they just didn't renew her contract. But I hope the three of them, it's now going to be Nixon Newell again for Tegan. I don't know what Indy's indie name was, if she had one. But I hope them all succeed with whatever they do next. So,
yeah,
thanks for entertaining
it sucks for people not to get renewed, but I mean, that's or let go. It's business. It happens to everybody in every line of work. Hopefully, they are in a spot where they can accommodate for that and can bounce back soon. We wish them all the best.
However, the Baron Corbin one was just wrong. So
yeah, man, he had such a renaissance in NXT. We were literally just talking about it, I think, last week on the show before this came out, and he was doing so well with Burn the Ships Corbin and.
I mean, I hate to be the contrarian here. I hate to be the guy, but with as much as Baron Corbin, they were trying shit with him, and nothing was really like working. He's a good hand, sure. And like, was there a lot they could have done with him years ago? Absolutely. When he had more intrigue, when he was U.S. champ there, when he was Mr. Money in the Bank, I believe. There's a lot more they could have done with Corbin, but I mean, that was Christ already, what, 6, 7 years ago? And fast forward to now, like again, they put Baron on NXT, like you said, not a bad run returning to the brand. Had a good little thing with Braun there, but since coming back to SmackDown, man, like he just was a fish out of water.
There was bad creative for him on the main roster half the time, though.
That seems to be a problem with a lot of these guys that are not blue chippers coming from NXT for the first time. Like we saw the same thing with Dijak, where it's just they bring them up and they have nothing for them, and then they lose their job. And it's like, well, why are
Congrats,
you
buddy, you're on
NXT?
Oh, fuck you, bye.
Right? It's like, hey, look at this big accomplishment. Dijak gets brought up. Baron Corbin gets brought back up. So-and-so gets brought back up. And then they just do nothing with them.
Goddamn, I was so hyped for Dijak, too, man.
That bad creative is a thing, even now.
Yeah, so. A lot of people say you can't talk shit about Triple H, but there's some people that'll tell you straight to your face that there's some questionable creative. Almost everybody in the Hurt business has said some questionable things about Triple H, and there's even some reports about the Street Profits having some questionable things to say. I don't know if you guys have seen that.
But with what Bobby Lashley said his idea was for his feud with Gunther that he wanted, I think maybe that was a good idea to keep him away from Gunther. I don't know if you guys heard that. I'm not going to talk about it. We'll talk about it off stream.
Yeah, it was a bit ago. I remember seeing it. It was pretty shitty.
It's a story.
Yeah. Are we a little bit surprised that Jacob didn't get the pin? Like, we know he talked about it on the show last week.
No, I wanted it, but it makes sense for Solo to get the pin. He is the leader, so.
Mm-hmm.
Well, especially when you have all these people questioning his legitimacy as tribal chief too. I mean, and that was as far as 6-man tags go, that was clean as a sheet. The way he pinned Roman.
Mostly, I mean, Tama Tonga did get involved a bit, or sorry, Tonga Loa.
Yeah, but the ref bump that led to the pin was kind of pointless. But it's a bloodline match. There's got to be a ref bump.
Yeah, I could blame Roman for that one. He kind of dug his own hole and just picks him up and throws him directly into the ref. But never seen nothing like that before. I mean, not in a match where you're trying to win, but
sometimes you got to beat a motherfucker with a motherfucker.
In this case, you got to beat the ref with a wrestler that you're trying to pin.
So this sets us up for 4-on-4. Look, almost definitely now at War Games in 3.5 weeks. You have to imagine Sammy will get involved on the original Bloodline side. Probably just milk it out a little bit before they reunite all 4 of them together.
Milk it out.
Milk it out till next Friday specifically.
We'll see. We will see.
Yeah, I'm all for culminations on November 15th.
Next up was the Fatal 4-Way Women's Tag Match for the tag team titles. And Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill successfully retained over Kairi Sane and Io Sky, Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson, and Chelsea Green and Piper Niven. Thoughts on the match?
And it was fun. about it.
I mean, they got the Saudi crowd to chant "This is awesome" for it, which I thought was a pretty good feather in the cap of all the women involved. For as much as it got tied in knots there, like it was actually not the worst. It wasn't as bad as it could have been. Like, I mean, there was a spot there where I had no fucking idea who was legal in that match. And then, you have all these people trying to get their shit in, which good for them. That's how they should be doing it in a multi-team tag like that. And then it got to a point where like the ref didn't even acknowledge that people weren't even legal anymore because Jade tried pinning Chelsea in one spot, and it's like, Piper and Bianca are the legal ones here, right? But then it ended up being Piper and Bianca at the end, with Bianca getting the pin. So it evened itself out, but like lots of mayhem, lots of hullabaloo, but also very, very well put together. Especially like I was very impressed with the Meta Girls, particularly like Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson working a Saudi show. Like they're only getting featured a little bit here and there on SmackDown now, but so not as much experience on main roster, but to fly overseas and participate with all these seasoned female tag teams and to, hold their own as well as they did. I thought it was great. I was very impressed. Lash Legend's going to be something big too. I can feel that.
Yeah,
I mean, she's already very big.
She's really developed because like when she first came onto NXT, she was green, and that's okay though because like a lot of people want to give shit to people and they don't look great when they first debut on NXT, but like the whole concept is that it's developmental, and she's really filled out what she needs to quite well, I think, and with the right direction, creative, etc. Yeah, I think she has all the tools to be very successful in a singles run, in a tag run, on the main roster, what have you. Because she makes Bianca and Jade look small, which is crazy to think about.
Dude, I was scared looking at I think when they did the standoff with Jade and Lash is like what 2 inches taller than Jade, who's already like very statuesque and like just just filled out more. I don't know what the colloquial word is for it, but just like she's just a presence,
She's lean and shredded.
Like it's crazy, and I can only imagine like because she actually she played for the Seattle Storm, I believe, in the WNBA.
She did, yeah.
So I'm curious to see what her air game is like. I want to see her take off from a rope or something. There's got to be something to that translates to WWE.
We'll see Bianca and Jade take on Raquel and Liv next week on Raw. I think it's for the titles. It made it sound like it was for the titles in the promo that Bianca and Jade cut, but I'm not 100% sure if that's for the titles.
So it's official?
The match is official.
As Adam Pearce
for the titles or for the titles, I'm not 100% sure.
Live 3 belts, it's coming.
Next up is Seth Rollins defeating Bronson Reed. Give me your tears, boys. Give me your tears.
I don't have tears, actually.
That's a little surprising.
Given time to process, I kind of get it. I appreciate that he no sold all of Seth's shit at the end of the match. I mean, he's very much still a monster.
That moment specifically saved it for me because it took a stomp and then a stomp on the steps and then another stomp and then a super stomp to put him down. And even then, it was just a flash 3 count because he got up and was like, "I'm not dead yet, dude." And that moment of Seth going, "What the fuck?" is really what saved it because it puts Bronson really at another level, even in defeat. And that's really what the match, even if he was going to win, should have done. And now it took him from a monster of the week, and now he's the monster in WWE.
And sorry, I'll just go really quick there. On Raw, Bronson followed that up with the in the Fatal 4-Way #1 contender match by taking out Seth Rollins too. So it's not like their feud is over. I wouldn't say.
And it shouldn't end in any other way besides like, I don't know, just like a Texas death match or something. I don't know.
Texas death match between Seth Rollins and Bronson Reed.
A fucking Australian death match. I don't know what you want me to say here, Donnie.
Ooh, an Outback brawl
Oh,
at an
God, I
Outback
need more
Steakhouse.
names for the hardcore
What's the equivalent of a Donnybrook in Australia or New Zealand? I guess he's from New Zealand, right?
Probably a Donnybrook.
No, he
A
can't.
Zolly Whopper.
Yeah,
I don't know.
kangaroo on a pole match.
Kangaroo fight. Kangaroo court match.
A wallaby wallop. I don't know.
A dingo drag out. I don't know. Shout out to that fucking MF Doom singlet that he had, though. I popped big as a motherfucker for that. That was dope as shit. Loved it so much. Yeah, all caps, too, by the way, lest we forget. Rest in peace, MF Doom.
Right. Rest in peace, MF Doom. I will say, in our live talking about it, I may or may not have called the Super Stomp, and Brandon may or may not have gotten mad at me. I'm not sorry.
I mean, you definitely called it, but I'm trying to the theme of this episode is trying to let things go. It's in the past now. We just got to move on with our lives the best we can.
Right.
But you fucking called the Super Stomp, Pierce. Why'd you have to call the Super Stomp?
Look, if
Sorry,
there
it
was
was
anything
leaking.
that put him down, it was going to be a Super Stomp.
Well, if anything was, sure, but you don't speak that out into the ether.
I don't think me not speaking it, I think it still would have happened, Brandon.
Got you there.
Well, I
Pro
suppose.
wrestling is, as they say, scripted.
Yep.
What? Okay.
I just shattered your world.
It's real to me, damn it.
The gears just grind to a halt.
All right, let's go on to the next match, which is the Liv and Nia,
Yes.
probably.
For the first ever Women's Crown Jewel Championship, Liv Morgan successfully defeated Nia Jax. Tiffany got involved. Tiffany got smushed into the barriers. Raquel got involved. Dominic got involved. Inevitably, Liv wins with an Oblivion, which seems very unlikely.
With
Kind of
one
defies
Oblivion.
physics a little bit. But Liv is the first ever Crown Jewel champion, and she looked very grateful. She very clearly broke character on multiple occasions, both in the ring and in the post-show dialogue. How much it meant to her to win here outside of her character. So I'm glad that she's happy with the accomplishment. It is quite a significant accomplishment, I would say. So kudos to Liv Morgan and all the work that she's done in the last few months to allow her to be in such a position to deserve this. Because I think it is deserved at the end of the day.
Yeah, she's
definitely
been one of the best characters in WWE since the beginning of
Liv Morgan Revenge Tour, I'd say.
It's a real thing. It's an earned. She's got an earned title run. Has the title run been that good? Not necessarily, but like she's still the only plausible champion on Raw currently that's not named Rhea. And I mean, you could have given the title to Nia. It probably would have actually fit her waist because those titles are comically large.
I don't even know if she could lift it. Like Triple H was holding it up the entire time for her because I think it would have just been too heavy for her to hold both the titles at once.
They were so dumb looking, man.
I mean, were you surprised though just how garish and gaudy they are?
No, not at all.
Big diamond-crusted dicks waving around for the world to see.
Those aerial shots outside of Riyadh are like, wow. And not necessarily wow in a bad way or in a good way, but just kind of like, that's a lot.
It's
Dude,
what
it's
the
a
Saudi
fucking
prince
theme
wanted
park.
for his Sweet 16, guys. He needed to have gaudy belts.
Well, she gets to keep the ring. She doesn't get to keep the belt, but the ring is
Now
also.
I want Liv Morgan cutting fucking MJF promos and hitting people with the ring.
Well, she's got to talk about the time that she was driving in a car with a guy named Max.
God. Oh my God, that would be
Oh, yeah.
fucking insane.
Uh,
Well,
that
they have
never
history
happened.
too, do they not?
They met at the Iron Claw.
Mm.
Or no, I think they were friends before
They
that.
were friends
but
before that, yeah. That's why, like the whole that ridiculous story that MJF told, it came up before he was even filming for the Iron Claw. But it would be kind of funny. It would never happen, but it would be kind of funny.
I just want fucking Liv Morgan to just start cutting MJF promos and just being fucking. It would just be so funny to me if she's like, I got my Saudi diamond ring and I bang all these rats, including Dom.
Oh man!
Just comes out just like with like Burberry around her waist, like.
And she starts coming out to just unlicensed music. Which, if you didn't know, MJF's entrance theme is just unlicensed music from YouTube.
Yep, it is.
Which is insane because it's a very good like when I hear that I'm like, this really fits this character, and it's just
It's MJF. It's like with Bret Hart, like you hear that riff at the beginning, you're gonna hear Bret Hart, and like same with
or you're
Kurt
gonna hear
Angle.
Natalia and you're like, I thought it was gonna be
Hey,
Bret.
hey! Do not disrespect the second greatest Canadian women's wrestler of all time.
Second greatest. Oh, I see what you did there.
Is it taking a second to figure out who number one was?
Come on now, Toronto's
Well, I mean,
own.
I know a little, no bias there at all, but
I think it's pretty.
totally.
I think it's pretty universally known that Trish Stratus would be the greatest Canadian women's wrestler ever, because a lot of people would say she's the greatest women's wrestler ever.
On the Mount Rushmore.
Mm.
Got no argument there.
We'll see what goes on with Liv going into War Games. Again, I wouldn't be surprised if they brought in Bianca and Jade just to potentially have a War Games match there, which I agree with you guys in the sense that if there's not enough story to drive the match, then just don't do it. But we'll see. After this, there was supposed to be a match, but there wasn't actually a match. Randy Orton comes out. Oh, sorry, Kevin Owens first comes out. Randy Orton then comes out for their match. And while Randy's celebrating pre-match, Kevin Owens attacks him with a chair into the knee. Bunch of brutal chair shots. Ref's trying to get him off. He gives the ref a stunner. Then Orton kind of bounces back. They brawl for a while. Inevitably, both guys are separated. Adam Pearce takes an RKO. I don't even know why the hell he was out there.
Yeah, that was very odd.
He took an RKO. It probably should have been Nick Aldis to take the RKO. Don't know why that didn't happen. But nevertheless, it happened. They were separated, so match never happened. Randy was not squashed, so I would expect them to run that back sometime in the near future. Or maybe it's all just still part of the elaborate ruse to fool Cody Rhodes. Who's to say?
I will say that it actually did what it was meant to do in that it made Kevin Owens look like a viable threat towards Randy Orton, the way Triple H was kind of trying to express to him, before he made the match. So if anything, it generates more intrigue with Kevin, and we can start to have him creep back into relevance again. But I mean, right, like when it comes to title contenders, it's going to be Kevin or Randy or both. So no matter what. So we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah, I mean, it happened. It was funny. Adam Pearce took an RKO. That was funny.
It's always funny
So-
to see management people take finishers. I will never not pop for those.
Right.
Second last match on the card. LA Knight successfully defends the U.S. title by defeating Andrade and Carmelo Hayes. Pretty good match. It's probably the best match on the actual performance level.
This
Except
felt
for
like a pay-per-view match.
except for maybe the main event, but even the main event was like kind of what you would expect, whereas these guys kind of showed out a little bit more, I felt.
This felt like a PLE, a big PLE match. They made it feel like it gave it a big fight feel. They all showed up. They all showed out. Again, Andrade should use that back elbow as a finish because it is so much better than his actual finish.
The double BFT was
That was
interestingly set up. I didn't expect to see that, but I guess it decisively puts Andrade and Carmelo in the rear view for LA Knight now as he moves on to. We don't really know what LA Knight moves on to next.
I got a weird feeling it's Logan Paul Part 2.
It could be, but didn't Logan Paul say he was on for an extended leave? I thought I just heard something about that not too long ago.
I don't know. I don't really keep up with a guy I don't care for.
I can't say I blame you, but I something in the back of my brain tells me that he's on an extended leave.
Well, he is married with children now, fellas. He has priorities. Hopefully some maturing, in this
Is his priority his
little
wife and
hiatus.
child, or is it selling deplorable food snacks to children with
I like my cheese drippy, bruh.
Mr. Beast?
Heard that too many times.
Is this a new thing or is this data stuff? Because I've seen that. I've seen people talk about drippy cheese and the context, and it's all just lost on me. So is that a Logan Paul thing?
So Mr. Beast, KSI, and Logan Paul came together and made a Lunchable competitor called Lunchly. And it was getting like a traction because of the people involved, and then I'm pretty sure it's already discontinued because it was going on store shelves and all the cheese had mold on it. So
Yeah,
Oh,
because
awesome.
they used the wrong glue to seal
That's how you know it's
the
good.
package, and they didn't use the right preservatives in conjunction with that. So it was just a bad combination all around from a science perspective. Which
Sure.
when I think of Logan Paul, I think of well-researched science. But nevertheless,
Prime does what it needs to do. Okay.
have you ever tried it?
I have. It's
I mean-
actually not terrible.
It is sugary bullshit.
It is very sweet. It is very sweet.
It does have a distinct amount of sugar content. Yes.
Yeah, it could definitely be diluted and still do the job, but I don't know. It wasn't terrible. I
It's
will
a
say that.
sports drink in a growing market of sports drinks.
Yeah, I have no idea what LA Knight would do though if not Logan Paul. Like, what other mid card singles wrestlers are on SmackDown?
So who took the pin in that match? It was Mello, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is unfortunate because I feel like with everybody in their chemistry, I feel like Mello and LA Knight were really starting to get into something there. And it'd be a shame if, both men did end up going to the rear view, but particularly if it's Carmelo, because
Oh, I thought of who it would be.
well, let's hear
Austin
it.
Theory. It's got to be Austin Theory, right, guys? Now is the time for Austin Theory to make his successful return back to weekly
Your eyes.
television.
I mean, he's got to ditch that loser Grayson Waller first, though.
How fucking dare you? I was humoring you for a second. Now, all you need to know is I was not being serious, and he's going to get buried in that tag team for months to come.
It's just pants, bro. I mean, oh, come on now. I thought we were having fun.
I suck, but seriously, I have no idea who. Like, their mid card is kind of barren, just like their tag team division is pretty barren, just like most of the top of the
Maybe
roster.
maybe we'll know if
It's like a
what
guy who
happened
got
in the
released not that
Buffalo
long ago.
game,
It's pretty bad.
but maybe it's time for Mr. Jacob Fatu to absolutely destroy LA Knight. I love LA Knight, yeah, and he's no dummy, but if he gets into the ring with Jacob, he is going to die.
Maybe in December. I could see that after War Games, but I
Yeah,
really don't see a scenario.
Post-war game, fucking push Jacob to the moon, and maybe that's what causes the splinters for him and Solo, because maybe Solo's like, I'm the leader, you don't need a title, and he just
Well, he
takes
got a
the
belt.
title from him, like with the tag titles. And that's what causes Jacob to get angry, and he's like, I don't love you, Solo, and it's just the greatest pop of all time. And then he goes on to main event multiple WrestleManias and just be the best.
Okay. Yeah, it's possible. I don't know
Sorry,
that Jacob Fatu will main event a WrestleMania.
I had to glaze the fucking best dude in the current iteration of the Bloodline.
As much as I think the fan base as a whole really likes Jacob Fatu, I don't know if he's main event of WrestleMania material, let alone multiple. Like, it's
Brandon?
close, but
Well, I mean, this is his maiden year right now, so he's. And the thing that I've said about too, I kind of had a take where the Bloodline is kind of diluting everybody in that faction right now, though they are more effective as a faction, paradoxically, than their predecessor. I feel like as individuals, like they all suffer. And I mean, you saw the promo that Jacob cut on the way to the ring when the Tongas were coming out, just screaming at the top of his lungs with such intensity. Like if he can bring that level, and he will bring that level of promo to his solo game, no pun intended, then I feel like he's got as good a chance of main eventing a Mania as anyone, especially like I feel like a program with him versus Solo would headline a lot of pay-per-views, possibly a WrestleMania.
No, I mean, like, can we
No?
actually like look at a list of WrestleMania main events that have happened, and like, you've got like as far as like the lowest star power goes in the last few years, the one that probably comes to mind the most is Kevin and Sammy and the Usos, night one of WrestleMania 39. But essentially everything prior to that, Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar, Cody Rhodes, The Rock, Seth Rollins, Edge, Daniel Bryan, Drew
You can't
McIntyre.
build new stars if you don't give them that shot, though.
Sure, but like main events of WrestleMania is like not a spot for up and comers. Like it doesn't. That's
Well, they're
not
not
what it's
gonna.
for.
It's not gonna happen right away.
No,
I mean, give it a couple of years.
Give it
He'll need
2
to.
to 3 years, and where he's the big bad with the belt, he's gonna main event.
I don't think you're going to
Mania.
see
He will.
Luther as a main event of WrestleMania for a few more years still. Like, I don't
You
think he
just
main
need to
events
stop talking
41.
right now. You're very wrong.
Yeah, I'm very wrong. I mean, he didn't main event last year or the year before. Do you think he's going to main event 41?
There's a very good chance he does, especially if they do the Cena match. There.
That's the only way I could see him main eventing is if he loses to Cena. And even that might not main event. If you have
Night one, it might.
like CM Punk to main event this year.
I think it's more likely to have CM Punk main event this year. I think if you have The Rock who does a match, he has to main event one of the nights. The women, like, you got to throw them a bone at some point again. And if it's going to have to be Liv and Rhea, it might be Liv and Rhea this year because that certainly will have the hottest crowd input, even though it's gone on as long as it has. I don't think Gunther main events 41, unless the only way is if he loses to Cena.
We'll see.
We'll see. But speaking of the Ligue Generale, as correctly called by one Donnie on this podcast, he lost to the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes, in the first ever
So dumb.
Crown Jewel Championship on the men's side.
I get it was Gunther being cocky, which made him lose. But it's just like so many other people have tried that and he's kicked out. But here, because it's fucking Cody, he's got to win. I mean, Gunther looked good in defeat, and really that's, I guess, what matters. But it's like, it's just dumb. Gunther should have won.
Well, I mean, I will say, right, like with the men and the women, neither of the losers really looked like losers. They lost in ways that I feel like preserve their auras yet. Like Gunther losing
I don't know
to
about Nia in that sense, no offense, but
well, she took a lot of interference though, and like the whole thing with Tiffany going on, and then of course, the Judgment Day. I mean, the way she was taking the Oblivion, like you said, looked kind of ridiculous, and like, how the hell does that make sense? But when you consider all the variables that were in play against Naya with that, and right, there wasn't any part where she looked stupid or weak or anything like that. Like she performed about as well as you could ever hope for. You know, same with Cody and Gunther. Like I think the caliber of the match lived to expectation. I think they're going to run it back again. I mean, I think the theme with Gunther and his current run has just been like silencing all doubt, removing all form of criticism as to why he is the best, the most dominant. So now you have Cody who still has this one up on him. And granted, like, I mean, I feel like with Saudi, right? It's like they want the best, they want the faces winning at their shows, right? And like, I feel like in Cody winning makes sense for business, but when you have Gunter, who is who he is, and him taking an L the way he did, where he was for a brief second outsmarted, and he was coming into that match with a lot of hubris, right? Like he was running Cody down as being a second tier champion. So, and I mean, when you think of all the guys who Gunter has beaten, maybe this is where he underestimated Cody. It's a classic play out, right? But it didn't happen in a way that made Gunter look like a lesser champion at all. And like I said, I felt like they have enough where they can run it back in a competitive sense, or again in the sense where Gunther finally gets his win back against Cody. Like he got his win back against Sammy, like he got his, legitimate win against Randy. So
yeah, I could very well see him getting the win back at some point. I don't think it's going to be anytime soon.
no, they're not going to put that immediate, but
The only way I could see that happening is if Cody happens to lose his belt first, and then Gunther is the one who takes it from Cody, which is possible, but it's still a ways away either way, I would think.
Yeah.
right.
There's no reason for them to be in the Rumble, so you won't see Gunther finally eliminating Cody. These guys' paths just aren't going to cross anytime soon, unless it's Crown Jewel 2025. And I really hope that they're both not still champion by then, to be totally honest.
No, I want Cody to lose it by
I want them both to lose it before then. Like I'm sorry, we don't need every single champion to have multi-year reigns.
I will disagree on the Gunther part.
Gunther's losing to Cena at Mania.
He can lose it to either Cena at Mania or he can lose it to Cena at SummerSlam.
No, if John Cena wins it at SummerSlam, he's beating Logan Paul for it. Because Logan Paul's going to win Money in the Bank, and then Logan Paul will cash it in that night and have 1 month as champion until Cena beats him.
There will be a Logan Paul Cena match at some point this next year. Like that's going to be a marquee match, no matter how much you hate Logan Paul, no matter what you think of Cena.
I think that's a
that match will show.
Yeah, it's a SummerSlam match.
Yeah.
Cena and Logan Paul. What the stakes are will be determined, but I think Cena Logan Paul is a SummerSlam match.
SummerSlam match, if I've ever heard it.
It's a what?
A night one SummerSlam.
Yeah, it could very well be.
Oh yeah, it's 2 nights now. Well, a year too early, but I digress.
Yeah, I would have liked it if it would have been the 2 nights at Minneapolis the first time, because then I could have drove there and been like, yeah, I'm here for both nights of SummerSlam.
On the first time it happens, not, the second time, because, we can't have anything here in the Midwest, but
Nope, nothing.
whatever.
It's okay. You guys
Atlantic
can come
City out to roast.
to Toronto for Elimination Chamber, our second PLE in 8 months, apparently. Don't understand that, but I'm not complaining if it happens.
Well,
That'll be
you
after we go
didn't
to
you
the
didn't hear
Tokyo
it from
Dome.
me. No conspiracy on my end, but if you can sneak me into the country, I will gladly go to Toronto.
Well,
Watch
actually,
Elimination Chamber.
we can do Elimination Chamber, then we can do WrestleMania for $17,000, and then we can go to the Tokyo Dome and watch Backlash, according to Dave Meltzer.
I would like to go to the Tokyo Dome just in general, but
It will not
Probably
be to
because
see
it's in Japan,
Backlash.
it has to be in the Tokyo Dome. It was very much not in the Tokyo Dome on the poster. The venue is right down there, but everyone's like, "It's the Tokyo Dome because it's Japan." I'm like, hey, Jesus Christ!
not how that works. The Tokyo Dome is just a place in Japan, but
Geeks
I was
being
so sad
geeks.
when I found that poster on DeviantArt, man. Oh,
yeah, what are you gonna do?
I was geeked for it.
So I think the
Yeah,
show
that's life.
overall, the entire, putting an end cap here on Crown Jewel, there was some okay stuff here. We got some added storyline elements to the Bloodline. I think the women's tag match was fun. Bronson Reed and Seth will have some continuation, and Bronson did look great in that spot. Liv and Nia, I mean, that was a bit of a gong show, that match, admittedly. When I watched it back, I was like, yeah, this match wasn't very good. But that was just because of all the bullshit that got involved in it.
I give it a C plus, and that plus is really for the LA Knight 3-way.
C plus. I'd give it a B minus. I think it was fine. Like,
Yeah, it's fine. There were a couple of bright spots, but again, it was filler. It's a filler arc.
There were some ramifications. There were some seeds planted there. I feel like it wasn't a total wash.
no, I mean, like the Bloodline winning adds a storyline. At least in that sense. That was there's some to say that it's
the
a
one
filler
big
arc. It's not.
storyline. It's the biggest storyline ever, and it's still ongoing, and it helped that. But again, I'm just very much. I got my feelings on those shows, man. So
Yeah, I get it. I will say though, it looks like the crowds, and I know I was watching Santi's review on this, and he mentioned that the crowds in Saudi look like they're gradually getting a lot more relaxed, like they're actually starting to behave like fans versus like spectators. Because that's what you got a lot of in the first Saudi shows. Like it was a lot more conservative, shall we say? Like the crowds weren't as lively, but now you have people like doing the wave and shit.
Yokozuna, though.
Yeah, it's too bad we didn't get Yokozuna for that show.
But,
or the Ultimate Warrior.
So you're saying the crowd is moving away from being a U.S. crowd?
I mean, I wouldn't go that far. If we're just here to, if we're just sitting here,
crowds are unequivocally the worst crowds to see when you watch a WWE show. Like, I don't think it's really up for debate.
Well, next Friday at SmackDown, me and Brandon are gonna fucking show up, show out, Donnie. You got it.
We're setting the table. Bringing the sign.
We're gonna be the heads of the table. Throw your ones up, man.
Hold on, wait. So you have the head of the table, and Logan Paul is the table, and you're going to be setting the table. Is that not how we're working this? So you're going to be setting Logan Paul in front of Roman Reigns.
That's my response.
Yeah, well, I'll believe it when I see it because U.S. crowds as a whole largely suck nowadays. So sorry, not sorry.
Fucking Milwaukee crowd, show up, man.
Jey Uso will endorse the podcast.
They're going to sound like.
And
then something big will happen. But otherwise, it'll be.
Shut up, bitch!
I think that closes up the podcast for the day. What do you guys think?
We're at the hour mark here. So we were thumbing the idea of talking about, if we're doing WrestleMania weekend still, which the plan is to still do WrestleMania weekend, what we want to do in Vegas while we're there. Do we still want to go over that for a bit? Or do you want to save that for another show?
Let's save for another show.
Next week, I don't think we got anything on paper yet. So
yeah, so why don't we fill that in next week? Because there's no, I think the preview build for Full Gear is in 2 weeks, right?
Yeah,
that sounds right. Yep.
All right, so let's flesh out some stuff for ideal WrestleMania 41 weekend. That could be our main talking point for next week. We can always cover little bits and pieces as stuff comes out, and have this one as a nice, easy show for tonight. Follow us on socials, because none of us reminded you to do that at the beginning of the show.
Oh,
yeah. See Brandon's interesting post for today.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I posted bigly.
All I'll say is, yeah.
It was interesting.
Yeah.
It was funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got to get these memes while they're spicy, man. And I mean, I can't think of a spicier time than today.
You're hitting the spice a little too hard. You went straight to
I got to ease into it a little bit, huh?
You went straight to wing 10 on hot ones.
Straight to past a bomb? Come on. How can you go past a bomb right away?
Hey, I've had a couple of variations of that final sauce of the last dab. While very hot, still very flavorful.
Unlike the bomb, which tastes like feet. And is hot as hell.
No flavor, just heat.
Yeah.
But
speaking of hot, flavorful, and feet, this is where I plug our socials. So if you want to follow us and get more of that good, spicy content, follow us on Facebook at Ope-Eh 3-Way Wrestling Podcast. We're also on X. So if you want to follow us with our live responses to shows and to our favorite and not so favorite wrestlers. We also are steadily trying to construct us a little Instagram page and a YouTube page. So if you want to, kind of get that early access, why don't you give us a follow?
For some
Same
reason,
thing at Ope-Eh.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were done. I
just finished up.
God. All right, let me just spit it out. I thought you were going to plug Tony Atlas.
Yeah, so did I. After you said spicy feet, I was like, oh, he's talking about Tony Atlas, isn't he?
It's not too late.
Shout out,
Mr. USA. Your fetishes are your own.
Oh, man.
I think I got to take us home after that one, guys. Does anybody else need to say anything?
No.
I wanted to talk. Never mind.
No,
I'll talk about outside the stream.
Go ahead.
Well, fucking local news boys. You know what happens after 157 years and Molson Coors buying them out? The fucking Leinenkugel's Brewery in Chippewa Falls is closing down. I touted Leinenkugel's beer on this podcast. It's one of my favorites, and I'm sure you boys appreciate a good beer. A little bit of Wisconsin flavor was Leinenkugel's. It's a little closer, it's up in the Northwoods there. But, corporate greed wins again. And this is why I voted for Trump. No, I'm just kidding, but it's just so sad. Molson Coors, bought him out there, taking all the distribution down to Milwaukee area. Yeah, man, it's just been a bad time for beer in Wisconsin today specifically, but specifically for Chippewa Falls too, man, because they're a small community, and that was pretty much a pillar for them for centuries. And the fucking family wasn't even told about it. They're going to take all the distro, close the plant down, take it down to Milwaukee, and none of the Leinenkugels, the families that actually are descendants of, 4 or 5 generations removed, none of them were told about it until after it was already sold, which is fucked. How do you do that to a good local business? Anyway. Sorry, I didn't mean to stretch out our cast, boys, but I had to say that as we are the Ope 3-Way, and I feel like when we can, like to tout our cultures, right, as North Americans. But man, that just broke my heart reading that today. Sad day for Wisconsin beer lovers.
That does suck. I guess it's a good way to end the show with you being extreme.
Jesus Christ. Gotta fit that in like halfway through, not as an end cap. My
I don't
God.
know. I kind
I
of like it.
know.
It's an extreme take on something. NXT's at the ECW arena where the extreme was invented.
Yeah, that's true. Let's
So-
wrap this up so I can start watching.
All
Yes.
right. Thanks everybody for stopping into the Ope three-way. Have a beer on us. Hopefully a line and Kugels while we still can. We'll see you next time. Good night.